Okay, so welcome to OSCC 2025. We will soon be closing up this session. Tomorrow is the last day for this program. So we want to say thanks so much for always being here and your numbers. We understand more people will keep joining, but we cannot wait for everyone to join because we have so many things to do. So thank you all for joining. And if any of your friends are not here, please remind them, because like we said, to be qualified to get a certificate, you have to attend 5 of the 6 days, or you attend all of the 6 days. So that would be your qualification to get the certificate. If you can hear me better, I'll just try to switch using a headset. Please confirm from the chat session if you can hear me better. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So let's get started. Saidu, volunteer Saidu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you can take it up.
All right. Good evening, and then good afternoon, good morning, depending on the location where you find yourself. I want to welcome everyone to our Day 5 training today. Actually, we've learned so much from the past 4 days, and coming to the Day 5 today, I just want to seize this opportunity to welcome everyone that have joined so far and is ready to join today to get new insight into the Day 5 training and possibly join us again on tomorrow's encounter. Special welcome to our tutors for today. I want to say it open and loud that we welcome you for the 3IT training today, and then we wish to get the very best from you. So, and to the audience that have just joined, so you guys feel free to interact with us, ask your questions, and then you'll be expecting some good feedbacks from both participants and as well as the tutors as well. So thank you all for joining up for today's training.
Okay, thank you so much, Saidu. At about this time, we will skip through this part because we have played on the first day, and it's also available on the website. Basically, just telling you more about TIT and what are other things that we are engaged with. Basically, we are open to partnership. You can partner or you can contribute to your service, either serving as a volunteer, serving as a speaker, serving as probably whatever partnership you want to have, because this program is run for free, though we have to pay for other logistics. That is solely upon me to do as a student, but we are also open up to whatever support if you want to give or you want to contribute. Probably you just want to, you have a technical service or technical skill that you can also provide that can help make the program better, and as well as give us the opportunity to continue to do what we are doing. This is the 8th edition of the program, and hopefully next year we're going to be having the 9th edition. So thank you all, especially for those that have been following the program from the very first edition until now. We highly appreciate you being here. So by tomorrow, we're going to release the link so that you can give your feedback about the program. And then we're going to work on that feedback, or those feedbacks you're going to give, and make the program better for the next edition. So the link is going to be shared tomorrow to receive all of your feedbacks. And at the end of the feedback, once you submit that, you will be able to see this screen. This was from the 2025 Winters edition, where you should be able to see this screen. That will also give you the ability to download your certificate and also interact with all of our social media platforms. So I'm from Howard University, and I also recommend you to probably apply or recommend your friends or share with your families. The application process will open up in late December or early January. So you can take a screenshot and share with your friends. Hoha is in China, in Nanjing. They also have another campus in Changzhou. So you can take advantage of it. So we have a couple of people joining us from different places. And if you are following us now, please let us know where you are joining us from in the comment section. Let us know where you are joining us from in the chat session. We're going to go through with it there later on. And people that are joining are also from different disciplines, different backgrounds. They are not just computer science students, but we have accountants, we have researchers, we have lecturers, CVOs, and different people joining the program from different regions and different disciplines. So the certificate process have started. We have started working on the certificates, and hopefully by tomorrow, we should be issuing out your certificates to you. Here's the sample of it. The speakers, the volunteers, and participants will all receive certificates from us. But like we said, for you as a participant specifically, to receive the certificate, you have to attend 5 of the 6 days or all of the 6 days to be qualified to get a certificate. And once a certificate is issued, you can use the ID on the certificate to download your certificate from the website, or you can just input your last name, and then you should be able to download your certificate. If you aren't able to download it, we also put our emails and everything on the site. You can email us, and we're going to help you in the process. So some people basically have the same last name. So if you observe, probably you input your last name and you are getting another certificate, you can just try to combine your first name and your last name. Combine your first name and your last name. But your first attempt is to use your last name to download the certificate. Thanks to all of the speakers and the volunteers from this edition for all of your support and every other thing you have been doing to make this program successful. Today we'll be having 2 speakers that are currently on the platform, and I'll be getting shortly to our first speaker for today, right after these other sharings. So to all of the volunteers, thank you. And if some of you want to serve as a volunteer on the next edition, you can always reach out to us to contribute, and we'll be glad to receive you. So this is the URL for the website, the place you're going to find your certificates. And also we have an Instagram page and a WhatsApp group where we usually share all of the daily attendance and any other materials that we have. If you are in China and you don't use WhatsApp, then you can also use the WeChat group by scanning the first QR code. That's my QR code, and I'm going to add you to the group. All of the videos for all of the trainings we have had, even from day 1 to day 4 of this edition, they are all on the YouTube channel. So you can always go back there and rewatch the video, and probably maybe you forget something or you want to just get refreshed again. We also have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. You can find us using the name that is there, TI Innovative Tech, TIT, as the Facebook page, and TIT and Niche Technology for the Facebook group. So at the end of the speakers' lectures, we will do our selfie attendance to end the day. So without much delay, let me now switch over to our first speaker for today, who's going to be joining us from the US. That's Dr. Todd Salzman. He's joining us from the US. And welcome, Todd. And about this time, we are over to you. And as always, as our participants, let us welcome our speaker in the comment section. Give him your warm welcome. It's early morning in his time, or you have to make the sacrifice to be here today to join us. And thereafter his presentation, will be joining also with Haji from Liberia as well. But let's welcome Dr. Todd, who's joining us from the US. Thanks, Dr. And it's up to you now. You can share your screen and go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Alano. Welcome, everyone. It's good to be here. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. A little bit of a time difference, but it's all good. So let me share my screen and we'll get started here. Okay. All right. So the topic today I'm going to look at is technology, ethics, and AI, theological and ethical reflections. Again, I'm from Creighton University. I was in Ohio. I met Olano and probably several other of you this summer. So we talked about water shortage, and climate change, and we're going to address that a bit today as well as a fundamental ethical issue around AI and technology and the vast resources they rely upon to function, and they can both serve as a technological corrective for climate change, but they also drain a lot of resources and contribute to it. But there are many other questions as well, that, especially around AI, that we're going to investigate. So before we get started, basic questions to keep in mind. And these questions are important because oftentimes with science and technology, we open up Pandora's box and the opportunities for scientific and technological development far outpace the ethical reflection on and questions about that technology. And nuclear fission, fusion are examples of that, how it can be used for power and energy and a very helpful resource, but also a destructive resource as well. And we find that certainly in much of the uncharted waters of AI, and the potential both to help humanity and serve humanity, but also the potential to really damage humanity and, in fact, potentially destroy humanity. So, basic questions to start with. What is your ethical perspective that guides your scientific collection of data and the conclusions you deduce from that collection of data to guide your ethical stance on technology and AI? What sources, experience, values shape your ethical perspective? And so this really a focus on ethics. When I was in Nanjing this summer, and it was a conference largely about science and hydrology, a student asked, well, why are you here? Because I looked at my bibliography, my biography, and it's all about ethics. I don't do science a lot, though I incorporate scientific information and technology into my reflections, ethical reflections, but my primary focus is the ethics and developing principles to guide our use of AI in a way that's responsible and respects human dignity. So we're going to look at a few issues here. First of all, look at theology and its relevance to this question, Catholic teaching on technology and AI, the environment and human dignity. Now, just to be very clear, Catholic teaching, when I say that, any tradition, any religious tradition or non-religious tradition, when it comes to Catholic theology, it's grounded in natural law and natural law is a universal ethic. It's not a doctrinal perspective necessarily. It's more universal, recognizing that all human beings, whether Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, Christian, etc., have reason to discern what's right or wrong. And that's at the root of ethics. And so there's a universality that we all share. I approach ethics from a Catholic perspective, but it's inclusive, it's not exclusive. So just keep that in mind, because I think it's a valuable resource. It's certainly not the only resource, but it's a helpful resource, especially on these questions. So seeing the See Judge Act model is a model to approach ethical issues, and certainly with AI and its relevance to climate change. We'll talk about that, but this presentation is much more broad than that. Judge, source of ethical knowledge. How do we evaluate what we see in terms of AI, its potential and impact, both positive and negative, on individual, communal, human dignity, the climate, etc., and then act. How do we respond to that in light of our own scientific background, our skills, our perspective? What shapes the direction we take in participating in this endeavor, technological endeavor that we call AI, and the potential to serve humanity that it brings with it. And then we'll end with a brief conclusion and open it up for questions. So, science and ethics. Why am I here? What is the facts, the science, the technology gives us certain resources, but then those resources have to be guided by particular values, and that's where ethics come in. I'm at Creighton University. It's Jesuit and Catholic University in Omaha, Nebraska, right in the middle of the country. We get very hot summers, very cold winters, somewhat like Nanjing, I think. Theology and ethics, based and essentially what we focus on from a theological perspective is human dignity that defines the good. Promoting human dignity is good. Frustrating human dignity is bad and wrong. But that begs the question, how do we define human dignity? And that's really a central question here, because some examples that we'll talk about, but people, for instance, are looking to AI as a human interaction and a relational interaction. I was listening to public radio yesterday, and they had a story about AI and people entering into relationships with AI. And it raised a fundamental question about, well, what exactly is artificial intelligence? And is intelligence, does it make it somewhat human? Because people are relating, entering into relationships and even intimate relationships with AI. And there's a story about that, who a wife was looking for more relationality, more intimacy in terms of sharing emotional connection, etc., and going out to AI to find that. And her husband knew about that, and they were talking to a therapist about this interaction, and the therapist was getting concerned because the wife was getting very, very falling in love literally with AI and ChatGPT, etc. And so you start thinking about, well, what are the relational implications here? And loneliness is an epidemic in the States, I think, all around the world. And so people are looking for companionship and relationship in and through AI, and it raises fundamental questions about what's the nature of human dignity, what's the nature of a person, and can artificial intelligence reflect that? There are other issues about AI pets that people have, and how do you treat that pet? How do you relate to it? AI can be very helpful in some ways, but it can also be very dangerous. Another anecdote from that meeting was people looking to AI for mental help. who are struggling with mental health issues and look to AI for counseling. And one of the responses that was relayed in this situation was a person who was engaging with AI and getting counseling and help, and AI began asking this person to prove that they loved the AI on the other end in doing some self-harming ways to demonstrate that. And so you get into this complication of what does it mean to be human and how does AI fit into that relationally in terms of emotionally, psychologically, etc. And fundamentally, how does AI facilitate or frustrate human dignity? So those are the questions I want to kind of explore and provide some guiding principles, ethical principles, and then sort of use climate change as a case study because, again, AI uses incredible resources to develop, function, and improve in its own ability to provide technological resources for the world, but at what cost, and how do we evaluate that cost benefit in terms of human dignity? So Pope Leo the 14th, our new Pope, Pope Francis passed away, but he's committed his papacy to a certain extent towards investigating AI and grounding addressing many of the ethical issues that surround AI. So he says tech companies developing artificial intelligence should abide by an ethical criterion that respects human dignity. So foundationally, human dignity is at the core of ethics and promoting that and being very careful how we use and integrate AI into our lives. AI must take into account the well-being of the human person, not only materially, but also intellectually and spiritually. So looking at the human person holistically, not just in terms of how AI can provide materially, and especially if you look at cryptocurrency, that's a big phenomena. AI has an important role to play in that, so people can get a lot of wealth from AI generated economic resources, but it can also be very dangerous economically as well, as we'll see, especially for people that don't have those resources. What is a just and ethical use of AI is a fundamental question. So technology, ethics, and AI, we look at the technology there. It can be used for good or used for bad purposes, and we have to investigate those based on human ethics and values. And then part of that factors in terms of its impact, either to improve the situation with climate change or contribute to it. In the short term, it's definitely contributing to climate change, but it also has the potential to address the reality of climate change and improve that situation. Okay. Technology and AI is very much interdisciplinary. Certainly science, various models and disciplines inform AI and develop AI, and that's vast, right? We're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what the potential is there, both positive and negatives. It has profound economic implications that need to be investigated and explored. Military is using AI in terms of wars and weapons. We're seeing that in Russia, Ukraine, and Israel, and the Gaza Strip with Palestinians, and it can be used for incredibly destructive means in that case. And I mean, AI isn't infallible, even in its use in the military. Mistakes are frequently made. Non-combatants are targeted or what so-called collateral damage, which is a horrible way to put it, but innocent people are being killed, and AI has something to do with that. Politics, local, national, international, we need to have, there's when eugenics came out and the gene therapy and the mapping of the human genome, ELSI became a very central focus, ethical, legal, social implications of the Human Genome Project. ELSI applies to AI as well, the ethical, legal, social implications of AI. And so there's a whole new area that we need to investigate on the political level, local, national, international cooperation, and too often self-interest and national, international interest trump the idea of the common good and what's good for humanity versus what's good for a particular country or national interest. And so we need to be aware that with AI as a universal reality, we need to have universal cooperation through legislation, through resolutions, world cooperation, currently UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, has guidelines, ethical guidelines for how to use AI responsibly and develop AI responsibly, as well as other technologies. But it's limited, as we've seen with the UN Security Council. It can issue statements, it can issue guidelines, but it's up to particular countries to embrace those guidelines and codify them in terms of laws and rules, norms to guide the use of AI. And ethics is very much at the core of that. The Vatican even has an AI study group right now that's developing ethical guidelines for how to use AI responsibly. So what are the ethical issues surrounding AI? I mean, they're vast, and this will, I imagine, in the last 4 or 5 days, you've discussed some of these. They've come up, and this is not at all a complete list, but at least it touches on some of those things that we need to consider with regard to AI and its use. So AI, what it promises, can improve worker productivity, efficiency. When I was in Nanjing, we went to a battery factory, and we saw very few workers and robots doing a lot of the work. And so that can increase productivity, it can increase the economic benefits, but it also eliminates workers too. And so we need to balance the productivity with training people in other areas perhaps that rely upon AI and can be productive, but also employ people who economically need jobs to survive, basically. Reducing poverty and hunger in terms of agriculture, certainly what we talked about a lot this summer at the hydrology conference. AI can be an important resource in that in terms of predicting weather patterns, predicting crop development, helping farmers with agricultural agendas and needs, etc. So that can be very helpful. Accelerating research and eradicating disease. I mean, in the medical field, AI is serving a really important need in terms of diagnosing, prognosing, even moving towards surgical procedures and its use. All of that is very helpful, promotes scientific development, cures for cancer, treatments for HIV, etc. Again, AI can be very helpful in all of these. What are some of the threats of AI? Taking human jobs. One thing, you have a situation in the States right now, a lot of people who come out of college with degrees in computer science aren't finding jobs. Why? Because AI is doing those jobs. Companies are hiring or using AI and not hiring people because it's much cheaper, it's more profitable. but at what expense, right? And that's happening in factories, that's happening in battery factories, car factories, textiles, etc. So you have the situation where AI can be more efficient in terms of robots, and it can be more productive, et cetera, et cetera. But what do you do with the people who are removed from employment because of AI or displaced because of AI? And so, on the one hand, it provides a huge benefit there in terms of employers, in terms of companies, in terms of economic benefits and resources, but those economic benefits become centralized to shareholders, CEOs, etc., and it cuts out employees. And so making that balance and perhaps retraining people for an AI environment. I mean, this is the developments we're seeing are far beyond the Industrial Revolution, especially as they impact human beings economically that don't have access to the wealth, power, resources. And so that's a huge consideration. Producing misinformation, that's another big, big issue. I mean, in the States right now, we have incredible polarization socially, culturally, politically, especially even religiously. And I was again watching the news the other night, and Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, someone did an AI generated video of her making statements that she never made, but it looks like her, it sounds like her, all the affective, emotional aspects are there, but it's not what she said. And this misinformation is being used in some very damaging and dangerous ways as well, in terms of elections, fair and free elections, for instance, in the US. You have political misuse of AI, and it gets shared. It's widespread on the internet, and it shapes people's perceptions, perspectives, etc., and influences how they vote, how they take a stand on certain issues. And so misinformation is a huge, huge issue, and it's very difficult to control and regulate that. And in fact, this video went up of Amy Klobuchar went up on Twitter or X now, and it wasn't removed. Facebook removed it because it was a violation. They said that it was misinformation and AI generated, but X did not. So who owns X? Who's in charge of X? Elon Musk. Elon Musk has incredible wealth, has incredible power, and can control information or misinformation to fit his agenda, goals, objectives, in total violation of human dignity. You see the problem here, where the power is, where the wealth is, that's where generation and the resources for AI often stand. And so, if there isn't a basic humanitarian concern for those who have that wealth and power, as there often isn't, then people are subject to the whims of those who hold that power, that wealth, etc. Create even more powerful weapons and surveillance capabilities. There's a situation in the US after 9/11, they were relying on AI in its early stages to generate the ability to read people's emotions, right? And to discern, especially in public areas and airports in particular, because 9/11, to read people's faces to detect stress or anger, violent attitudes, etc. And this gets into the question of human dignity. Does AI have that capacity? And so the US spent, I think, $900 billion on technology to develop this ability to read human emotions in order to detect who may or may not be a terrorist. And the outcomes of all that investment, economically, resources, etc., didn't produce any helpful results. So you see this investment in surveillance, especially, and you're presuming a lot about what AI can provide, the results it can produce, when in fact, in terms of the evidence, it's very unreliable. But what that does is it creates a possibility and even probability of racial profiling, discrimination, et cetera, et cetera. And we've seen that play out. And that was often manifested in terms of people being screened and targeted based on race and ethnic origin. So we have to be very careful with that. The powerful weapons, again, I mean, the military and its use of AI is incredibly destructive. There are doomsday scenarios where AI actually no longer is taking orders, but giving orders and taking over the nuclear capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. And the people who created AI are raising these concerns, and that's a good thing that they're raising them, but we have to put in stopgaps and controls in order to prevent these types of tragedies. Anthropological concerns with AI, again, the idea of relationships, of mental health, treatment for loneliness, all of those come into play about, well, what is human dignity and how is AI engaging with that, or is it taking it over and replacing human beings to a large extent? I think that's incredibly dangerous. I mean, it gets to the root of what does it mean to be human, and can you have something, a machine, be in relationship with the machine, as I mentioned earlier, that issue of the wife in relationship and falling in love with AI, this so-called person on the other end, and you think, shoot. I mean, it can be destructive of marital relationships. It can put people in a box, in a sense, in their own relational world. And so we have to be aware of those dangers. Accountability, who's responsible when AI goes wrong and makes mistakes? So you have driverless cars in the States, Elon Musk again, and people have been killed in accidents because of driverless cars. Who's responsible? In this case, probably Elon Musk, but there are all sorts of cases where people, for instance, with mental health and people reaching out to AI for mental health help, if they end up tragically committing suicide because of that engagement, who's responsible? Where's the accountability there? And I think, especially, for instance, in misinformation, in AI created videos that misrepresent people and produce misinformation, how do you hold people accountable for that? There's no clear way to do so. And so that's part of the accountability, goes hand in hand with legislation. Mistakes in the military, again, false identification of people, racial profiling, discrimination that flows from that, etc. And it comes back to the accountability of those who hold the power to generate AI, the wealth, the power, the political influence, etc. Are they holding human beings and human dignity as their primary motivator, or is it about wealth, power, prestige? And too often that's the case. Transparency and explainability. How does AI reason to find solutions? This goes to court cases as well. Our son is in law school, and there's a case where a student was using AI to come up with answers to the professor's questions, and the professor brought up her response in this case in the class and said, well, this is what you said. And I went into AI and checked, and AI said this as well, but this judge did not make this ruling. All right. So AI makes mistakes. It's not infallible. So what biases are built into AI by those who produce it? We all come and goes back to the point of science and ethics. We all come to any issue, whether it's scientific or cultural, social, political, religious, with a certain perspective. What is at the basis of that perspective? What are the values that we bring to it or disvalues that we bring to it that impact how we look at a particular issue, evaluate it, implement the technology that AI implements in order to find solutions to questions? What biases are built into AI? And in a sense, we're all biased, but is our bias towards justice, fairness, equality, etc., or is it towards exploitation, discrimination, power, wealth, etc.? How do we control AI and not let it control us in terms of all the variables that come into thinking about human dignity, social justice, etc.? The power and control of AI, again, promotes disparities in wealth and power. Does it do that or alleviate that? Well, it can. It has potential to alleviate that disparity or those disparities, but too often, I think, based on the people that develop AI, it can be used to promote those disparities, create a very centralized resource for wealth, power, authority, etc., that leaves out especially the most vulnerable economically, socially, culturally, and contributes to climate change. Okay, so all sorts of ethical issues. I'm sure you can add more issues that arise with AI. That's just the tip of the iceberg, I think. How do we respond to those from an ethical perspective? What are some of the principles to guide the responsible use of AI? UNESCO has provided some. Catholic social teaching provides some. Other organizations and scholars, etc., getting into AI. I might have a sabbatical coming up next year. My project is to look at AI, the ethical, legal, social implications of AI from a Catholic perspective, to provide some insight into a very new topic in Catholic moral theology, but in ethics in general. So, what are some of those principles? First and fundamentally I'd say first and fundamentally, human dignity is at the very core of responsible use of AI, but that begs the question, what facilitates human dignity? And some of these principles, many of them apply. First of all, justice. We need to ground the use of the development of AI in terms of justice. Distributive justice, giving people access to resources, to clean water, adequate food, nutrition, healthcare, education, which AI can be an incredible resource for, say, education, but it can also be a damaging tool. I had a student this summer submitted a paper, a quote unquote research paper, and we have a tool to detect AI, 100% AI. Okay, so you can use AI as a tool. It can be a helpful resource for education, but it can also replace education. And too often I fear, and it's going in that direction, that students are just using AI to do their thinking, and they're not learning the skills that go with critical analytical thinking to have the tools to be discerning about AI, for instance, as a tool, as we are with any academic or scholarly resource. We have to have those skills, and we develop those skills oftentimes through education. Higher education is very helpful for that. If we bypass that whole process, then we're not doing ourselves a service or those who we serve in the future when we come out with a degree where we haven't learned how to think critically, for instance. So distributive justice is making sure people have access to technology, resources, etc., economic resources, educational resources, healthcare resources. Legal justice is creating laws, regulations that prevent the abuse of AI, like discrimination, racial profiling, exploitation, and ensure that people are using it, misinformation, ensure they're using it responsibly, and then social, including the environmental justice. So what energy does it take to produce AI, and what is its impact overall on the environment, especially the most vulnerable environments that suffer the effects of climate change but don't produce the carbon emissions that create that climate change. It's a huge social justice issue. Proportionality, do no harm, in a way taken from the Hippocratic Oath. We need to be responsible in how we use AI and prioritize human dignity over those other aspects of wealth, power, etc. Transparency and explainability. How is AI being used? For instance, in the States, you often have insurance companies who will collect data on patients or customers, and then especially DNA, higher potential for cancer. If you have genetic connections, pathologies, etc., they can charge higher rates. And they implement those higher rates based on information they collect that isn't accessible or shouldn't be accessible to them, but they do collect it. 23andMe was data collection for the human genome. But where does that information go? Who has access to that? 23andMe went out of business, but all of the information that it had is still there, and who has access to it? Who's using it? So transparency and explainability, accountability, especially when AI goes wrong or it's being misused. How do we hold people accountable? We need to do so. People need to be responsible in their use as well. Governance, collaboration, UNESCO, UN agencies can be helpful for that, but they're only as strong as the commitment to those principles and that governance and collaboration. Again, AI is a worldwide reality, and so we need worldwide cooperation in its governance and collaboration in that process. UN can be a helpful resource for that, but if people don't adhere or respect it or follow it and focus more on national interests and elite national interests within a particular nation, then it's not helpful. Privacy, how do you protect privacy with the use of AI? Again, accessibility to medical records. Insurance companies will use that to boost profit, limit treatment, etc. Deniability for treatment based on pre-existing conditions, which are often genetic realities, and people have no control over that, but they shouldn't be penalized for that genetic history when it comes to healthcare, for instance. Subsidiarity is a fundamental Catholic principle that says it's basically participatory justice, that people at the lowest level should have a voice in developing governance, collaboration, and having a voice in how AI is generated, used, limitations on that, etc. Safety and security of AI, again, in terms of resources with driverless cars. Accidents occur because of that, misdiagnosis, for instance, in terms of AI and the medical field, all sorts of issues around safety and security. The common good is an idea that we need to develop structures that facilitate human dignity for all people, not just the elite, not just certain people, but especially for the most vulnerable in communities. And oftentimes that's the economically most vulnerable. So that would be very concerned, for instance, with robots that replace humans and eliminate jobs because of that. what do we do with that? How do we replace those jobs? What can we do for the people who are no longer have jobs because of AI? And that's becoming more and more widespread. And it's a consolidation of wealth and power to the elites at the expense of the general population who is vulnerable to the use of that technology and the wealth that goes along with it. So again, common good is foundational. It's in line with human dignity, to promote human dignity and to promote access to these resources. Sustainability, another foundational principle, both social, that we don't destroy ourselves and through AI, and environmental, for the resources that AI requires in order to generate itself, to develop and evolve, perhaps in the future to be able to address fundamentally the reality of climate change. But again, for instance, the people who have power, it's interesting looking at Elon Musk and Trump and their eventual fallout. Trump is totally into fossil fuels. He denies climate change. Musk is producing electric vehicles. Those don't go together real well, right? And so they both have huge egos, and so there's a huge falling out between them. And I think it illustrates the power, the wealth behind technology, the development of AI, and oftentimes it's about their own self-interest rather than bettering or improving the common good and looking out for the general welfare of all human beings. And certainly the common good is about that, and an essential aspect is sustainability, both social and environmental. Okay. How much time do I have, Lana?
You have 15 minutes.
Okay. But is that allow for questions too?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's total,
Yeah, yes.
right? Okay. All right. Well, I want to just go into a bit of detail about climate change as a byproduct of AI, and then I'll open it up. I want to hear what people have to say, their thoughts, their ideas, their questions, criticisms, whatever. Okay, so Catholic social teaching has done incredible work on looking at climate change, and especially it has implications for technology development and AI. Pope Francis says that the root of this question with climate change is, what is the meaning of my life? What is the meaning of my time on this earth? And what is the ultimate meaning of all my work and effort? And I think, regardless of your religious beliefs, um, atheist, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, whatever, these are the foundational questions that we should be asking. They're questions fundamentally about meaning and our life as a whole, our narrative, and how we contribute to bettering the human reality. I think that's at the core of ethics, being in relationship with one another and improving those relationships. And those questions should guide our approach to technology, our approach to AI. How are we serving humanity and one another, especially the most vulnerable? Because there are many different people on this session, come from various historical, cultural contexts with economic issues, etc. But in a way, I mean, I feel incredibly privileged to be able to do what I do and have that luxury. And so to try and help people and promote people in looking at the opportunities they have and how they can use those opportunities to serve and create a more just world. And I think AI has that potential, but we have to be very cognizant of that and aware of that, and aware of our privilege, but also our capability and responsibility to create a better world for everyone. And I think we need more of that. We need more kindness. We need more charity. We need to promote justice. And unfortunately, I mean, I get depressed looking at the news every day because there's so much evil, so much badness that it can become overwhelming. But we can't lose hope. We have incredible gifts, talents, etc. And we need to discern what those are, find where our passion is, and pursue that in a way that betters humanity and betters human relationship. One of the greatest moral threats, climate change, and certainly poverty, and that was Pope Francis' great concern, and certainly Pope Leo is continuing with that. In Laudato Si, it's a wonderful document that it's called an encyclical. It's official teaching of the church, but in that, Pope Francis critiques the technocratic paradigm, and it consists in thinking as if reality, goodness, and truth automatically flow from technological and economic power as such. It looks to technology and the technocratic paradigm as an end of humanity and the goal objective rather than a means to serve humanity, right? Very different perspectives. And so technology is good, can be good, can be used for good, but when it becomes the end rather than a means to serving human dignity and the common good, then it can become very destructive. Jeffrey Sachs, he's one of the world's leading economists, speaking at the World Economic Forum, said about Laudato Si that it's magnificent, absolutely magnificent, and he emphasized that all people should read this, not just Catholics. It's not just for Catholics. It's for every Christian, Jew, Muslim, atheist, etc., and for every discipline, economists, scientists, people who are doing psychology, sociology, etc., because it highlights the science, first of all, about climate change, and it's very important from a Catholic perspective that engages science in that way, and then it draws out ethical principles to guide our use of the science in a way that promotes human dignity and care and concern, especially for the most vulnerable. And those are central principles that we just looked at in terms of AI. Climate crisis is a huge, huge issue. Many of you are probably experiencing that. In the States, we're seeing that, more severe storms, more drought, more hurricanes, more severe hurricanes, etc. I'm not going to go into this too much. Mater Magister, it's Pope John the 23rd, talked about a model to evaluate ethical issues, whether it's climate change, technology, AI, any ethical issue. He talked about the see, judge, and act model. And the perspective allows people first to see an injustice. What are the injustices with regard to AI? Both individual and structural, and we laid out many of those. To judge that injustice, looking at principles, values, ethical resources, and then to act to establish or restore justice in light of that judgment. So it's a helpful process, a structure to guide us in our evaluation of AI, to see, judge, and act. And this has been applied in the case of climate change. And again, I'm not going to go into this too much, science and theology. It's very important. Again, you're coming at this issue from a scientific perspective, technology, AI, etc. But certainly ethics, we all have ethics. The question is, how do we integrate scientific knowledge in the pursuit of our professional life? How do we integrate that with our ethical views and values and perspective? And so there has to be an ongoing dialogue between those two. Pope Francis would say, an intense dialogue between science, religion, and ethics. Science and climate change, the realities, global warming is a fact. Human beings are responsible for it largely, and AI can be a tool to address it. but it also substantially contributes to it. And so this is just a diagram of both the positive and negative impacts of AI technology in terms of government, the need for legislation, the limitations on government intervention and control given the rapid development of AI, human health, both the potential for great advances in promoting human health in terms of diagnosis, prognosis, treatment, but also the damage caused by it through climate change. So there are positives and negatives in climate and artificial intelligence. That's at the root of some of these tensions with the positives and negatives. And we need to keep that in mind. This is a model of the impact of AI on climate change. And it's the requirement for AI is remarkable. The power that it uses, and that power is often generated through coal. Electricity is the source, and coal is frequently the source for producing electricity. The U.S., the president has shut down subsidies for renewable energy, again, to promote fossil fuels that damage the ozone, contribute to climate change. And when you have someone who is appointing scientists who are climate change deniers because they're funded through Exxon, you see the dangers and the ethical violations of power, wealth, and control of AI by those who have a vested interest. And that's a huge, huge issue. So the future scenario range of the use of AI and the power it requires, if you look at this, it's exponential. Even by 2028, the forecast is. So we have to be very cognizant and aware of this reality and promote renewable energies while at the same time using AI to address the issues of climate change and in its very use not to contribute to that. So the evidence is all there in terms of 10 hottest global years on record up to 2023. It continues to get worse. And so the science is overwhelming on this, and AI, again, how does that contribute to it versus how can it serve as a corrective to it? And so I'm not going to go through all this. I mean, I've talked a lot on this. I think you get the general point about some of the ethical challenges, but also the potentials for AI. It's a cost-benefit analysis, not in terms of utilitarianism, but in terms of human dignity, that we need to prioritize human dignity in all our scientific technological advances, and see where AI can promote that versus where it's fundamentally challenging that, and what we can do as individuals in the sciences and technology and ethics to impact that development in any way we can. So some of the impacts of climate change, mass starvation, lack of access to drinking water, climate refugees, land disappearance, mass migration, all of those come into play. How can AI address some of those issues? Mass starvation, helping with producing crops, etc. Okay. Some of the sources to judge in the Christian tradition, you have scripture tradition, reason, science, experience, all of those come into play in terms of addressing and judging the use of AI. And we can talk about that more in the Q&A, and then acting in a way that reflects that judgment, that ethical judgment in our role and function to promote values, the value of human dignity, the value of all creatures, the environment, especially in the case of climate change. I'm not going to go through this. Some of the virtues, the virtue ethics, I don't know if people are familiar with that, but there's been a re-emphasis going back to Aristotle and Aquinas historically about the importance of virtues to guide our perspective in approaching both our personal and professional lives. And so integrating again ethics and science, solidarity, looking out for the most vulnerable, especially the poor, economically poor, migrants, refugees, justice, promoting justice, love, mutual care for one another, preferential option for the poor, subsidiarity, participatory justice, etc., which we talked about earlier. So, conclusion, Catholic social teaching on technology helps to form a virtuous perspective to promote the ethical use of AI. It's one resource. Again, Catholic social teaching is a universalist perspective. It's not limited to the Catholic perspective because it promotes fundamental values and virtues that are universal. Compassion, empathy, justice, solidarity, etc. Those aren't specifically religiously aligned, although Catholic Church has a viewpoint on those, but they're universal values, universal virtues. Catholic social teaching helps to create a virtuous perspective, an ecological culture that provides a distinctive way of looking at things, a way of thinking, policies, an educational program, a lifestyle, and a spirituality which together generate resistance to the assault of the technocratic paradigm. It's a means, not an end, and we continually have to emphasize that. If you want peace, work for justice, be a voice for the voiceless in our positions in education and our professional lives. We have that potential. And then see, judge, act can function as a model for how to approach these various issues. So that's what I have to say, and I'll open it up for some questions, discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dad. Thank you so much. Let us give it up for the professor in the comment section. And also, if you have any question, you can use the feature of raising hand so that we can take up your questions if you have any. But let us appreciate the speaker in the comment section as always, like we always do. Please do so. And if you have any question, you can raise your hand and then ask a question if you have any. Okay, Elijah and Mo, you can go ahead and ask a question. While Elijah is asking a question, let us continue to give our feedback in the comment section to appreciate our speaker. He's joining us from the US. It's early morning his time, but he have to wake up to contribute towards this this whole training. That's really, really impressive of him, and I'm grateful that he was able to do so today. Thank you so much, Dad. Elijah, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks to the presenter. I have two questions, right? And question number one, we want to know that how do ethical issues in AI affect us in everyday lives? For example, in social media, healthcare, and education. And question number two how do companies or government ensure that AI is used ethically?
Yeah, I think, in terms of social media, it's a huge ethical issue. And I think a top-down approach in terms of legislation, regulation is important. We need that, and we don't have that in a lot of areas. It's unregulated because it's so new. It's gradually coming into play in the States. I think there's awareness with UN, UNESCO, for instance, but there's a lot of work to do and a lot of resistance for control. So in the States, for instance, you have the freedom of speech on the one hand, but also you can't say anything you want. There are limitations to that. So how do you navigate that in terms of social media? For instance, I posted a video on Facebook, and it was very critical of Trump and the psychology of the people who are following Trump. And it was from a psychological, scientific perspective, but equating that to what a cult can look like in certain situations. And that video was removed. Okay. So, like 2 days later. And so, Facebook is monitoring through AI and making a decision about what is or isn't acceptable. But there was nothing egregious or controversial in that. It was merely looking at science and cults and making comparisons to what's going on in our current administration. So, regulating that is a tricky situation, and there needs to be more regulation, but I think it also requires a bottom-up approach where people are speaking out and being educated to think critically and to reflect on what's responsible, what's a good use of AI, what's a good use of social media, etc. So those two, a top-down approach, but also a bottom-up approach, are very important. And I think it varies obviously from country to country and how much voice and say you have in any given situation. What was the second question? Sorry. Oh, regulation.
Okay. The second question says that how do companies or government ensure that AI is used ethically?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think what I laid out in terms of the principles is gives foundation, a point of departure for addressing AI, and I think there needs to be more regulation, needs to be more control in its use, whether it's in the medical field, whether it's in social media, whether it's in employment, etc. We need more and more protections in place with AI and more control over AI to make sure that it doesn't take control of us and to a large extent.
Sure. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think that's okay. Flomo, we take the last person, Flomo, and we'll be moving on to the next speaker. So Flomo, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you again, CEO. And thanks to the presenter for his presentation, Yeah. I just have few concerns, and most times when I'm talking, I usually talk from the background of bioengineer. Most times we are playing with a lot of proteins, DNA samples, and stuff like that. And sometimes we need these AIs to help us reduce the workload. But
Yeah.
the issue of privacy, okay, has been one of our major problems. Wherein, take for example, if you have a AI model, you must train these models on series of large data sets so that the AI becomes efficient enough in giving you an adequate results. Okay, so if the issue of privacy around the world is a problem, then how do we try to curtail some of these issues as it relates to privacy issues, right? Take for example, if I'm working on, because I'm a nanotechnologist, if I'm working on some nano enzymes and I'm using some bacteria's DNAs and some human samples from hospitals like that, how do I try to reconcile the issue of patients' privacy coupled with my materials to help me detect some of these pathogenics by bacteria or microbes that are leading to disease causations?
Yeah, I think that's a crucial question in terms of in the States, we have what's called HIPAA, and it's privacy. Medical information is supposed to be private, but it's not always private. So protecting confidentiality and having donors remain anonymous of the samples that you're studying is really crucial. Is there a way to ensure that? I think we have to build in those protections into the process of using AI itself, right? And that's not my area. That's people's field that are on this group. But I think that's very important, building in those protections into AI and the process of AI. We also have to recognize that the syllogistic reasoning that AI, the process of reasoning that it takes to get to conclusions, is human generated and implemented into AI, and it's only as good as those who are doing the formulation and implementation of those syllogistic reasonings, right? And so it comes back to a question of who has the power to do so, and can we rely upon them to do so in a way that's fair, just, honest, transparent, or does human bias and selfishness factor into that process? So I think AI it's artificial. It isn't a thinking, reasoning human being, and that's part of the problem of it. It's being developed to think in a certain way based on what that input is, and if that way of thinking is incorrect or biased in any way, that's going to manifest in the results as well. So we have to be very careful in terms of the upfront work about how we program to analyze, evaluate data in order to get results that are fair, just, and promote human dignity. And that's a very complex process, and it requires legislation, it requires discernment, etc., and communication and dialogue and cooperation. So I think all of that comes into play in the healthcare field and working towards diagnosis, prognosis, etc. And those are all very worthy goals, but how AI is either helping that or frustrating it. It can expedite the process, but it can also be a dangerous way if the initial algorithms aren't formulated in a way that are responsible, respectful, and promote human dignity.
Okay, thank you so much, Dad. It was a great time having you with us, and my regards to the madam and to the other family there at the Creighton University.
No, thank you very much. I'll pass that on. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you all for being here, and I wish you all the best as you finish up the conference.
All right, thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. Haji, are you there? Our second speaker for today.
Yeah, yeah, I'm here, Orlando.
Okay, so always, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our second speaker for today. That's Honorable Masakwe, joining us there from Liberia. He's a friend and brother of mine, and currently the IT director there at the Ministry of Agriculture. And he's an engineer as well, not just any other person. I think currently he should be in a power plant environment, so he will talk more about everything. But Haji, you are welcome, and let us welcome also our speaker in the chat session. You are muted if you are speaking. Okay, yeah, you can.
Okay, yeah, I think I had a. Okay, thank you, Orlando. Yeah. Thank you. Orlando, trying to say something. Okay, guys. Thanks to every one of you for joining. I'm currently. What's this? Orlando, do I have control now to do this? I don't know.
Yes, you should be able to share. There's this green share icon at the taskbar of the Zoom. You should be able to. Okay. Yeah, it's coming up. Okay. Yes, we can see it. You can just put it in presentation mode.
So
Okay, that's good.
I think we have like 156 participants.
Oh, the connection is coming in a little bit. Honorable Haji,
So we might be having like 80% in Liberia. So I would say go after I want to hello, Olano.
We are online.
You are coming in broken.
Hello.
The network is bad. We are not hearing you. You were coming in broken.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, boss, can you hear me? Haji. Haji?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think he's having some network issue. Just hold on for a while. We'll join shortly.
Guys, am I much okay, let me see. Hello.
yeah, Haji, we can hear you, but the
Is it
connection.
much better now?
Yeah, now it's better.
It's better, it's better.
Okay, now it's better. Okay, so I can go ahead and just okay, so can you guys see my current screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so good afternoon, one of you. I'm Haji E. Massaquet, and I'm gonna be walking you through control engineering basic. But before I make progress, please, if you are engineer, that I have this at the back of my mind that this is kind of a pretty new to Liberia, more especially. But if you are in your similar field, just put one in the chat so I can know the audience I'm speaking to when it comes to control engineering. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. I think they are following through. So if you are a student of control engineering or control science, please send one
Okay,
in the chat session.
Okay, I think we have couple. Okay, we have couple of persons. Nehemiah, Jairus. Oh wow, that's pretty interesting. So, I'm happy. I'm happy that Oh, wow, the number keep increasing. Emmanuel, thanks to every one of you guys. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, that's just a snapshot of a presenter. I'm gonna run through this quickly. Okay, so now I actually plan to make this presentation interesting because initially I plan to do a demo presentation in addition to the PowerPoint slides, but due to unforeseen circumstances, I cannot because I'm currently in a live plan. And I do have my personal laptop connected to my current workstation. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do the demo. Maybe at some point in time we can arrange that. Maybe in the future, um, we can arrange that where we have a more robust presentation involving the demo presentation, where you guys will have a full understanding. So basically, this is the objective of the presentation. I'm going to try as much as I can to explain these things in the simplest form for you guys to understand. Because I know that there are a few persons that have heard of control engineering or that are venturing into control engineering. So basically, these objectives pretty much sure they are going to be new to some of you. Like one, the control engineering part of it is system overview. The chassis, which is the control bus or the backhousing processor, discrete IOs, and communication bridge modules. And I'll say the rest. Okay, so, but the first thing I want to make clear is what is control engineering. If you heard of control engineering or if you heard of control engineering, at any point in time, what comes to mind? Now, it is a broad term when someone says control engineering because it's something that is not definite, that you can't specify which direction you are speaking from. So someone gonna ask you, what do you mean by control engineering, or in which direction are you trying to point control engineering? Okay, so I'm gonna go through this quickly. So I'll come back to this, guys. Now, I want to make this thing, I want to simplify this thing when health engineering. Basically, there's a program engineering that most people got to be something that design. The designing part comes in where you design programs. The designing part comes in where you design schematics. For example, you don't need to do is a complete understanding of what you want to do. And that has to do with a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. The first one has to do with electrical. Second one has to do with electronics. And the third one comes in where you do the control engineering part. That is blending electronics and electrical together. So technically, a control engineer
Yeah, so guys, the speaker is gonna rejoin probably in 5 minutes. His network has some issues, so he's gonna rejoin us in 5 minutes. We have already started the work of the certificates. So by tomorrow, we'll start issuing out the certificates. If you probably have issues with your attendance record, please ensure to stay here today and tomorrow so that you can at least have a chance. Tomorrow is the last day of the program. We might probably just have one speaker, and then we can take the other time to arrange a certificate, get feedback from you. We'll also be launching the the feedback system. Okay, I will let him know. You have to go for Friday prayer. I think you can just go because the time is also static. If you have somewhere to go, you can. So please, those of you that have your excuse to attend whatever program, you can put in your genuine excuse later on and send it to me or any of the volunteers. Teresa, your hand is up. Do you have any concern or question? Okay, so
No, please. Sorry, it was a mistake.
all right. So let's wait a little bit for our speaker. But meanwhile, you are encouraged to please stay until the end for the attendance because tomorrow is the last day. The survey form will also be released tomorrow as well, so that you can be able to give your feedback on the program, and then we can improve. We can improve on it. Oh, I think that means see if I can go back to PPT. Backstage, we're trying to work on the certificates. So some of you, to download the certificate, all you have to do is to import your last name on the website. If you first receive the confirmation after registering for the program, in the barcode, there was something or there was a number called the attendees number. So you can use that also to download your certificate, or you can use your last name. But probably some people have the same last names. So if you first check, maybe by importing your last name, and you realize that the certificate that comes out is not yours based on the last name, then you can combine your last name, your first name and your last name together. Combine it together. Your first name and your last name, you can combine it together, and you should be able to download your certificate. If you can't download it, or there's still a problem, you can always reach out to us through our email that is on the flyers and also that we have shared. You can always reach out to us, and then we're going to help you to resolve that problem. Either to send the certificate to you manually, or we can also send it to your email, or we can send it to any of the social media handles. So these things will be done by tomorrow and moving forward. Some of you actually didn't register for the program, though you have attended.
Hello, Olano. I don't know what is correcting you as well. You're also coming in broken today.
Can anybody hear me? I'm out.
You're coming in broken like I don't know.
You are very clear from this
See
from
you.
the
You are very
network.
clear. You are clear. You are clear. You are
You're
clear.
also coming in.
You are very clear.
See you. You are very clear. I think
Okay,
you have
okay.
to check your PC, but you are clear. See you.
All right. I think Haji, are you back now?
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, you can go ahead. Let's see how this network is going to help us. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for every one of you for being with me. So, as I was saying, control engineering is a broad field. Basically it is it's a field where we focus on designing, developing, implementing a lot of control system. And when you speak of design, a lot of things come into play. The designing part has to do with two major components. That is the electrical part and the part. So, as a control engineer, you should be a person who has a background in electrical.
Yeah, so I think we are having some technical problem. Not technical, basically just network problem. All right. So if the problem persists, then we will probably get him tomorrow with the other speaker, or we'll just share the PPT and probably he will do a video to demonstrate whatever you wanted to share about, because of the network problem. The break in and out, the flow is not going to be that much easier. So let us stick around a little bit and give him maybe 2 minutes or so. If we can get him, then we'll just do our attendance, and then okay, he's back. So let's try once more. Haji, are you using Wi-Fi?
Come again?
Yeah, are you using Wi-Fi or data?
What is happening here, the system that we only we have this bandwidth that is allocated for it, so it consumes a whole lot, more especially for efficiency purpose concerning our ROs in the field. So I I dedicated that part to to our system. I'm using a secondary link. That's why I'm experiencing these things. If I hop on the primary link, I really can't tell because I have a couple of things. I don't want to cause. I don't want to cause any issues. So I have to use secondary link. That's why this is flipped. But it's much better, right?
It's manageable now. It's just kind of a little bit fluctuating. But let's try. Go ahead and see if we can. Like I was telling them, if we can, then we will have to probably do it tomorrow, or you just do a video recording and then you can share it. I'm going to post it on the YouTube and share the links with them. And if they have any further questions, they can always reach out to you. But let's first try and see how it's going to go.
Okay, so so basically, when we look at the design part in sharing, we have two major components. That is, let me try to bring in my. Okay, we electrical part and we look at the electronics part. So if you are designing a program, let's not look at the electrical part and then what we want to build a group of electrical, and you move to electronics before you move to even developing particle system or as well for whatever purpose that you want to do. Okay, so Dr. J focus actually broad, it focus on a lot of things. You can use it in a lot of applications or in a lot of settings. It's being used in oil and gas sector, it's being used in beverage. It's seen it how you automate heat process for for uh this thing or advanced product. So you need the human involvement machines to be jobs as one you someone will depending on something what you have this you need a machine to be doing that. Most of the people use this AI just so that is that you are okay.
Like I keep breaking in, we're not getting it.
Okay, so I think the problem is going to continue with this thing. So I will communicate with him. At about this time, let us all just turn on our camera so that we can do our attendance. And I can also use this remaining time to go and work on your certificates. And those of you of the LSUIC people, after here, your attendance record will continue on the platform. In my gadget, after here, all of you guys should go on LSUIC Zoom and continue from there. So today, LSUIC, the Liberian Students Union in China, are launching their official website. So Haji, you can stop sharing. I will get to you after this part because the connection is really disturbing today. So you can stop sharing. I'm going to get back to you so that we can find a way to resolve it. So guys, please turn on your. Yeah, he's going to do a video and also the PPT, and then we're going to share it in the various groups. The speakers of even or yesterday also shared the PPT, so I'm going to also share that with you guys as well. So let us turn on our videos. So we'll do our attendance quickly. Okay. Please So far, we have created some people's certificate has been created. The rest of you guys will be created today, tomorrow.
Hello, CEO. I'm trying to turn on my camera on, but it's not turning on.
It's okay. If you cannot turn it on, if there's any restriction, it's okay. Just stay.
Okay, all right, okay.
Just stay. We're going to solve it. Okay.
Yeah, our question.
Yeah, I'm coming. Let me finish first, and then you can ask a question. All right. So just a minute, stay where you are. Those that have to go and pray, those that have to go and find something to do, you can. I think you have a little chance to go.
What's up?
So I've already taken the first screen. Just please stay. You don't know which screen you are on. And after that, we'll also go over the relay on YouTube so that you can verify your attendance, just in case maybe TIT or the volunteers never capture you in attendance. Okay, just a minute. We are taking a second one. Okay. So all of the Liberian students here in China or even outside of China, you can join the platform now. I mean, right after the attendance, not now. And join the launching ceremony of the website for the union. And let us all make it to be grand. So I'm not going to stay much time here today. Okay. I'm coming. Two more.
I think you already in the meeting. I'm hearing your voice in the back.
Yeah, I'm multitasking today. That's a sacrifice we have.
Man is there. You can hear he's there.
That's a sacrifice we have to make. It's not easy. So yeah, we sign up for it. So let's make the sacrifice.
You are the leadership is actually doing well, man. There are a lot of new, innovation that I'm seeing so far.
Sure,
it's it's a great starting point for us.
Sure, we have
FBI.
We have a lot to do. Okay, guys. So I've already taken the attendance. Just wait. Let me now flip to the screen for YouTube. Please don't share a message now. One. I'm coming. I'm finished yet.
FBI.
2.
Yeah, I get you, man.
3.
Okay, better.
4.
Better again.
5.
So, Sarah.
6.
Sarah Tole.
So
if you didn't register for the program, but you partake for the 6 days, you will still get your certificate. But what you are going to do, your certificate will be placed maybe in a group chat. So make sure you be in a group chat. If you are in Liberia, join a WhatsApp group, and then you can also contact any of the volunteer, or maybe you can contact the CEO. You are going to get a certificate, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, guys. So thank you so much. We are done with the attendance.